Do you think because of that kind of support is why you are where you are today?
1,000,000,000%, and I don't ever try to ignore that or discredit that, because where the place I was at, I had the potential, but I needed the people that I have around me now to really guide me and get me on the right path, because sometimes you need that outside view of what you're doing. And because when you're in your own world all the time and you're thinking it's mine, this, mine, that, you need someone to step in and go, look, you're doing this, but if you take it this way, you're going to go much, much further, and the sky's the limit, you know? So.
You have some skulls in here already.
Everything skull, girl.
Yeah, see if you ready. How many you got?
One, two. It's a flaming one there. You count that, but 1, 2.
Appreciate you coming here all the way from Manchester.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I'm here as well, man.
How does it feel to be back and working in London?
Very, very exciting. It's been a minute. I haven't seen any of my friends and my business peoples down there for a while, so very excited to be down there, man.
Did you have your childhood like here, or was it all in Manchester?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a mixing pot. So I was born in Hillingdon Hospital and grew up in Ruislip, and I was in Ruislip up until, I want to say, year 5, just start of year 6. And then I did year 6, year 7, year 8 and year 9 in Manchester. And then I moved back down to London, well, specifically Reading, to do year 10 and 11 and then 2 years of college.
So what do you associate yourself more with? Just being a Manchester kid?
I feel like I tell people that I was born in London. I was kind of raised in Manchester, because Manchester's where I kind of found like a lot of my sound that I have now, and a lot of the influences that I've always had my influences, but they became a lot stronger when I moved to Manchester, you know. But obviously London will always be like home. Like I still always visit and see my old friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, because your sound is so unique. So I was just so curious to know
Thank you.
what influenced it. Like, who were the people, idols, or like growing up?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, the list would be a lot of tattoos worth if I went through the entire list. But off the bat, like, obviously my main one would be my mum and my dad, simply because like they showed me a lot of early music, and like, obviously they're not a musical influence as such, but they supplied the influence that I had, because, you know, when you're growing up as a kid, from the ages of when you're born to like, I don't know, around 5, 6, 7, 8 and up, all the music you hear, like, even though you may not register it or you may not like associate with it at the time, it's still going in and you're still recognizing it in some way, you know. And I'm a firm believer that a lot of the influence and sound I have came from the music that my parents showed me.
What were they playing back then?
So they were playing things like a lot of my mum was a very folk influenced type of girl. She liked folk music. She also likes like 80s and disco and things like that. More, I'd say, more happier side of music. My mum likes your happy tunes. And then my dad was not the flip side, but my dad also liked his rock and his hip hop from like, you know, like the 90s, 2000 era and stuff like that. And so yeah, I was exposed to a lot of different music growing up, but the influences I kind of stuck with would mainly be top 3, if I had to give 3, would be the Beatles, for one, because obviously a lot of my music is based on guitar. I've been playing guitar my whole life, and they definitely started that. Rap wise, I've always liked Biggie, because it's just like one of the ones you start with, one of the first I heard, and just such a voice, you know, that you can just like recognize with. Absolutely. And then the third one, I said I was going to give 3, but again, I can't even think of a third one that would be fair, because it all just depends on what I'm feeling at the time, I guess. But yeah, man.
When did you first pick up that guitar?
When did I first pick up the guitar? I was 6 years old, and I didn't really...
Like acoustic, or was it...
It was like, back then you could get like, you could probably still get them, but it was like a 3/4 size, not very well built, made of like really cheap wood and plastic strings. And my dad obviously knew I liked music and was just trying to get me onto instruments, and I wasn't too interested at the time, more interested in football and messing about, you know what I mean, stuff like that. But about a year later after that, I got onto it, did 1 guitar lesson. I've always told people I don't get lessons, but I had 1 lesson when I was about 7 years old, and I didn't like the lesson because...
What happened?
I've just never really liked being taught things that, if there's something like music where there's all these different ways to do it, I don't like being told a certain way is the right way, you know, and that's kind of the way that she came across. No hard feelings to her, whoever you are. Shout out you. But yeah, I just kind of enjoyed teaching myself, and from about 7, yeah, 6, 7, it's up to now.
You were using what were your platforms to build that kind of just knowledge for yourself when it comes to guitar? Was it just YouTube?
A lot of
or-
YouTube
yeah.
stuff, a lot of I've always prided myself on being quite good at listening and repeating, or listening and reproducing, like where you hear something, you work out what it is. I'm not pitch perfect, I'm nothing like that, I don't claim to be, but I found from a young age I was quite good at picking up songs just by playing along to what I was hearing. Obviously, as I got older, I realized certain things I was playing a different way, but it's still great ways to practice and get it into your head, you know?
Yeah, because you mentioned you play by ear, right? And that takes
Yeah.
some kind of, like, definitely a lot of skill to...
It does a lot of practice, as anything goes. Like, the more you do something, the more it's going to become second nature, and the more things you actually learn, because music is only a culmination of a few notes, you know? You can't make up new notes, so it's all just what you can make with the stuff you're given, and just how many different ways you can spin it, I guess.
So if you were able to collaborate with any artist, dead or alive, who would that be at this moment?
That is a question and a half. Because it's dead or alive. Like, if it was alive, if I could pick one for each, so if I could say alive right now, I think it's gonna have to be Ed Sheeran. I feel like,
Ed Sheeran.
yeah, we're destined to make some great music, man. Because I see a lot of myself in him, the way he came up, the music influences that he had, the music he makes now. You know, I can recognize a lot with that. So I definitely say Ed for like the person who's alive. As for dead, it'd have to be someone from the Beatles. So I reckon either John Lennon or George Harrison, because they're two people that my acoustic side of writing and like my real songwriting ability, I feel like, came from listening to hours and hours of their music, you know? So to make something with John Lennon would just be absolutely crazy.
Is mom the one that helps manage?
My mum has been a supporter and a fan of my music since I was doing my very, very early cheesy guitar stuff, you know? They both help incredible amounts to like help me get to where I'm trying to get to and to execute the visions that we have. My mum takes a lot of care of the website that we have.
Oh, the e-commerce
Yeah,
stuff.
because obviously as my name is Jake Molloy, and my mum has had the domain for www.jakemolloy.com since I was born. And she got that and held that because she knew that one day, she said, yeah, my son will use this. I know he will. He'll need it for something. And now obviously music is my name, my artist is my name. And yeah, so she's helped a lot with stuff like that.
Do you think because of that kind of support is why you are where you are today?
1,000,000,000%. And I don't ever try to ignore that or discredit that, because where the place I was at, I had the potential, but I needed the people that I have around me now to really guide me and get me on the right path, because sometimes you need that outside view of what you're doing. And because when you're in your own world all the time and you're thinking it's mine, this, mine, that, you need someone to step in and go, look, you're doing this, but if you take it this way, you're going to go much, much further, and the sky's the limit, you know? So
Was there ever a time where you were just making music to appease others? And
absolutely, you know, and I knew I had talent and I knew that I had an ability to create music, but I didn't know what avenue to take it down. And I was trying loads of different things. I thought I was a grime artist, a drill artist, a rapper. I didn't know what I was doing, and I needed to be shown the right way to go, because like I said, if you look at it through your eyes too much, you can't see. You're only limited to that one way of looking at things. So when someone else brings that fresh viewpoint in, and they show you a different way of looking at things, that's when it gets exciting, and you can reach new heights you've never even thought you'd be able to, you know? I feel like my dad has always had this thing with me as well with guitar, that I'll say this to anyone, he was the reason I picked up a guitar, because like I said, he always had the guitar around the house. He bought me my first one when I was like 7 years old, and has always just told me that guitar is that instrument, you know? He could have put me on piano, he could have put me on drums, but he'd always loved guitar, so he knew I would, and I've never looked back with guitar. It's something I'm always learning with every single day. So without my dad, I definitely wouldn't be playing guitar today. That's 100%.
does he play as well?
He does. My dad's, arguably, he says I'm better than him now, but I don't think that's true. I think my dad just doesn't play enough. But yeah, dad's been playing since he was about my age, you know, probably a bit younger. Probably like 16, 17, I think he started. So
Is he in a band at all?
no, he never did. He never joined a band. He's wrote music before. He sent music off to, I think, this one guy whose name I can't remember now. And Dad, if you're watching, I'm very sorry, I can't remember his name. But he sent music off to someone who was in a band or made music, and he replied to my dad saying it was good. But that's about it. My dad never really wanted to pursue that like that, you know. He's just done it for himself, and I respect that. But he has always had electric guitars, 12-string guitars, acoustic guitars, and growing up I was always able to get my hands on them and have a go. And definitely, yeah, that's got to be one of the main reasons why I play guitar today, if not the reason, you know.
Is electric or acoustic, where are you resonating with the most? Which part?
So I enjoy both. I feel like my music that I make nowadays, I'd say, is probably more electric guitar based, just because of the sound that I'm feeling. But I started with acoustic, you know, and growing up listening to all the folk and the country music and blues music and like fast country music and like hillbilly music, you'd even say, like listening to all that growing up, really that hits a certain part of you that electric guitar doesn't for me. Whereas other people, it's kind of the opposite. When they hear an electric guitar, like your metalhead fans or your rock fans, that to them is the thing that gets them going, like acoustic does for me, you know? But yeah, I think acoustic guitar, I'd probably, if I had to choose between the two, I'd say the acoustic guitar. Yeah, so fun fact about me, I can actually play, I'll be careful with how I word this, I can play most stringed instruments that are based around a guitar. So we're talking ukulele, bass, guitar, banjo, mandolin.
A mandolin.
Yeah, like it's kind of, guitar in its roots is one hand doing one thing and one hand doing the other. So once you apply that to different instruments, once you have the basics down, you can work it out, you know? Like you might not be able to play a whole song, but if you put it in my hands, I'll make it sound good, you know? But then the flip side of that is I don't want it to get confused with things like violins, cellos, fiddles. That I can't do. And I've always wanted to look into playing things like that. I've always wanted to learn the flute. That's another instrument that I think is beautiful, but guitar's just been the one for me. Anything with strings, anything with strings.
Are you exploring other ones right now too, like drums or?
I've been trying my hand at piano here and there. My producer, Francisco, Big Freemy, shout out Freemy. He has been playing piano for years. I think he was about 10 or 11 when he started, probably younger. Again, Frank, I'm sorry, got that wrong. But he plays piano, and every time I'm with him in the studio, I try different things here. I'm asking him, oh, how does this work? Or show me this, show me that. But we're not quite there yet. But we'll get there, you know? It's definitely on the list of to-dos in my life.
In due time,
100%.
definitely. Who's been like the biggest influence in your life?
So in my life, if we're talking about my entire life, it's a toss-up because musically, you know, I was writing about things I probably shouldn't have been writing about, and I had an attitude and problem, and I was cocky in certain times, and I just had a lot of things going on for myself that were holding me back. And a lot of people were approaching me because I had just recently won a challenge that Jordan McCann, shout out Jordan, had done on his Instagram. Where
What's his challenge?
He had put up, so basically the challenge was called the Old Friends Challenge, and it was a song that Jordan had called Old Friends, and the challenge was to write something over it, to freestyle, do whatever you wanted to do. I did it. I'll put my hand on my heart and say I did not attempt to win it, in a sense of when I put it up, I was literally leaving the house to go to the shop. My friend mentioned it, and we had YouTube open on the TV. I had my raincoat on, you can see in the video I had my raincoat on and everything. I said, oh, let me just try something. And he filmed it, put it up, and then about 2 or 3 weeks later, I just got home from work. I was in the bath, actually, and my phone was ringing, and the first call I missed, and I was like, oh, I wonder who that was. Finished the bath, got out, so it was an unknown number, and I don't really answer numbers like that. And then as I'm looking at it, it's rung me again. I've gone, hello, and I heard Jordan's voice, and I was like, yes, bro, how you doing? It's Jordan. He explained to me that I'd won the challenge, and it was very surreal. It was crazy. I was like, wow, I can't believe that. A couple of weeks later, I met Tunde, shout out Tunde. I was given, it was like £1,000 cash. And a big shout out on Jordan's Instagram. It was a real big thing for me because I had never been shown anything up until then gratifying me that music was for me, you know, that I could do good music. And not that you need gratification, but it helped, you know. It made me think, wow, look, I've been recognized for what I do. Someone likes what I do. Let me see what I can do with this. So after that, I had a lot of people message me saying they want to sign me. Oh, come and do this. Come visit me here. And I didn't really know what was going on. I ignored a lot of it because I didn't understand it, you know.
The last song that I heard from you was Sofa. Like, what was going through, I guess, your life during that time when you were writing that?
Yeah, so obviously the song explains, like, I used to sleep on the sofa, which I did, and I used to sleep on the floor, you know, like when times were hard and certain times, like, you couldn't live certain places or you had certain problems going on, like, it's just a song basically of just all the stuff I was feeling and going through at the time. I do believe music is a great thing to use to, like, express yourself and obviously get rid of feelings that you otherwise would vent up inside. So it was also a song like that, just using it to get rid of what I was feeling, get rid of the anxious thoughts and painful things, you know. And yeah, man, just music therapy. It's a therapy song, Sofa, you know. It's a song to reflect on and a song to look back on.
I guess spelling it all out. I had to see it visually to get it too, but it was so clever.
Oh yeah, I like doing things.
So
Thank you. I like doing things like that. You know, it's all about just keeping the listener engaged and trying new things with them. You know, like if you're getting them to spell it as you're going, you're getting them to not simply do a workout, but you're testing them. You know, like to follow what you're saying, you have to spell it out whilst you're listening to it. And I always like it when people tell me that they didn't know what they heard, what they were hearing at the start, and when they spell it out, then the penny drops type of thing. You know.
Is there a lot of music you haven't put out there?
Oh, 100%. My backlog of songs is crazy. There's a lot of songs that I have that probably won't get released, but I need them, you know. I feel like you need them songs to, if you're a painter, for example, every canvas you paint is not going to be the one that you sell for millions, but you keep them so you can look back and see where you went wrong, what you did right, what you can take from this, take from that, you know. It's important.
Oh, it's a beautiful perspective on that, right? To
Thank you.
be able to, yeah, go back into your archives and see.
Because you can look at something that you did back when you were feeling a certain way, and then by looking at or listening to that piece again, you can go back to that place and maybe awaken that spot that you were in and bring something new to light, you know.
So, like many artists, do you struggle with a lot of just that self-doubt and just questioning the kind of work you put out there?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Like I said before, I'm my biggest critic, but I'm lucky that I don't let it get too much, you know. I don't like hate on myself. I don't hate the stuff that I make if it's not too good or if it's not quite the thing that should be written at that time, you know. I feel like a lot of artists are critical now as well, especially because they watch too much, you know. They watch what everyone else does, and it's obviously, I can't say as a musician to not listen to other music, of course not, but if you're trying to do something that you know is different and you're actively looking to try and listen to people doing the same thing, you're already showing yourself, I don't want to call it competition, but you're showing yourself someone else is doing it. And with me, myself, I'm not the only white kid playing guitar that's doing music out here, do you know what I mean? Of course I'm not, but I have to run with it like I am, you know, and I have to look at it like I am, so I stay hungry enough to really chase that and get to where I want to be, you know? So it's very important, man.
Do you have those people in your life? Like, do you feel you're still trying to build that team?
I feel like a team can always, as long as you know what you're looking for, a team can always be expanded in the right way. I mean, some people come, some people go, but there's people who are definitely around us now that have the same vision as us, you know, and have the same hunger, the same desire to get to where we want to get, change our lives, change our families' lives, you know, and just got to stick to that plan, because we know the plan is foolproof, you know. We just have to stick to it, and everyone has to play their part, and
Consistency,
we'll do it.
right?
Consistency is so key. Sounding like DJ Khaled, but it's very true, you know.
Have you had like creator's block a lot of the times? Because I deal with that so often.
Yeah, well, I can imagine as well as a tattoo artist, when you're doing so many different designs, it can get repetitive and you get it all built up in your head and not know which direction to go. With music, I guess I'm lucky in the sense that because I have so many influences, I can always try and go a different route. I don't want to let myself be blocked, if that makes sense. I don't want to admit that it's a block. It's just maybe with this particular thing I'm trying now, that's not it for right now. Why don't I try this instead, or I try this? And I always find a way to get some kind of music out, you know? Like, there's always a way that I can get some idea done. I'm always full of ideas.
Is there something currently blocking you? Like you're working on just kind of opening for yourself and changing?
Recently, I've been trying to write more from other people's perspectives, because I notice I do a lot of writing from me. Like, I do this, I do that, me this, me that. Whereas writing songs in the perspective of someone else is a challenge, and it's always fun to try that.
Why is that though? Like, why do you want to give that perspective? Is it just for the audience, or is it for yourself to challenge yourself?
It's definitely partly for myself, but a lot of it is mainly for the audience as well, you know, because I want people to have different experiences with listening to songs and to go to different places and feel different things, you know, and write from a different person's perspective can give the listener, like, transport them to the life that person is. If it's talking about me, it's kind of just comparison, whereas if you bring another person into the mix in like a different kind of context, it can be a bit different, you know.
What's been like the most fascinating one or perspective? Like a woman, or is it other people, like friends, or?
Yeah, I wrote a song not too long ago now. I think it's about a month or so ago, from the perspective of my mum and dad. So as if they had written the song, which is a work in progress, still working on it. But that's just an example of something that I never would have thought of doing or thought of done, because you're putting yourself in the mind of them, you know. So you're thinking, what would they say? How would they say it? Why would they say it? And yeah, that's definitely a challenge.
With that, did you feel like you were I guess like opening a door that you
Yeah,
had to deal with stuff that you didn't want to see?
absolutely, you know, and that's healthy, you know. Like I said, we all vent things up inside of us, and we all push things down that we should probably talk about. So anytime you can let that out in any way is definitely a bonus and definitely a healthy thing to do, for sure.
Was there anything that you'd like to share about that? Like when it comes to just writing about them, like what did you learn about them through this process?
That's a great question, you know. I mean, I've known my parents have always been supportive. That's the main thing, you know. Like, I've always maybe put things in the way that challenges for myself, you know, created problems for myself, whether that be like not paying attention in school and creating problems, or doing silly things out with friends that I shouldn't be doing, you know. Like, I've always put little things in my life that have almost blocked me, but I feel like my parents have never stopped being supportive and have always just turned me back towards the path I'm supposed to be on. And so I guess right when I was writing from their perspective, it was a lot of talking about understanding that I do the things I do, but that it doesn't matter because you just have to stay focused. You know, not that it doesn't matter. Sorry, that's the wrong way to say it. It does matter, but you shouldn't be letting it distract you from what's important. The important thing is that you have a gift, you're good at what you do, you just need to stay hungry and stay focused on that. And yeah, I think that's probably the main thing I got across from writing that song. And they haven't heard it yet, but I'm very excited for them to hear it because they'll like it. Mum will probably cry. It's just, I'm grateful, you know, very, very grateful. I mean, if I didn't have my parents, I know a lot of people out here, they don't have their mum, their dad, or both. And
or even that support.
yeah, even just a support in the life, you know. So I'm very, very grateful that I have that. That's not to say I've never struggled, because of course I've struggled. We all struggle, but the fact I've always had them in my corner, like fighting my case always, it just helps, you know. And I'm very, very grateful for that, 100%.
I also noticed if you're not shredding the guitar, you're also flipping bottles.
Yes.
How did you get into bartending? What's the story?
Yeah, but done the research. I wasn't
Wow,
expecting that.
fun.
Absolutely. So yeah, I am a bartender in my spare time, I guess you could say, when I'm working, when I'm trying to get a living. It is such a big passion for me because when I was younger, I used to like juggling. Like there's a thing called devil sticks, which is basically a long stick with 2 weighted ends and 2 hand sticks, and you toss the middle stick between the 2, throw it in the air, do flips with it, stuff like that. I was obsessed with that for about a good 2-3 years, and then once I started doing bar work, I discovered what flaring was, which is again where you throw your glasses and your bottles and stuff like that. It was just like a match made in heaven, you know, because I was already enjoying working on bars and making cocktails and serving great drinks, and pairing that with the ability to juggle and create that like theatrical experience for like people when they're having a drink. Like I love that as well.
But that juggling technique that you just mentioned earlier, how does one even, you know, pick that up?
So I actually found out about that from a circus, which sounds so funny when you say it, like a circus, like I just wandered into a circus. But there was, in Wales, where my mum is from and where my grandparents used to live, there was this place called, I want to call it Norwood or Great Norwood, like Park or something, like one of these big nature places with like, you know, like river streams and boats you can get on and all this kind of stuff. And they have this big kind of camping style circus tent where they used to have like circus activities going on. So I'm talking things like plate spinning, ball juggling, batons, all these kind of crazy things. Clowns as well, unfortunately, which they actually had a sign I remember outside saying warning clowns in case you didn't like them. I don't mind clowns, I'm not.
No,
not a
they
biggest
don't
fan.
scare you.
But yeah, that's where I picked it up, and it was the one that out of all of them, it kind of appealed to me. I was like, yeah, this looks like fun. I gave it a go. Was good at it, and I've not played it for a while. I've not done it for a while. Should probably get my hands back on it. But back to your question about the bartending, though, I really have just been pushing that the last few years because it's another fun thing I can do on the side of music. You know, I'm lucky with that respect because it's my job and I get to do it for work. Whereas I know there's other people out there, they're grinding, they're doing office jobs or they're doing labor work and things like that, and I've got myself in a position where I'm doing a job that I love every day. So it's a lot of fun. Always learning new tricks.
That's incredible, though. You're able to still be creative and make money and, you know, be in that.
We're trying.
Yeah.
Trying our best. Absolutely. Tough times are hard out here, but
Yeah.
people aren't coming into the bar as much as they used to, but I'm still throwing my bottles. You'll still catch me breaking a glass here and there, something like that.
Is it in Manchester?
Absolutely,
bar?
yes.
Yeah.
It is in Manchester, yeah. It's a nice little bar just next to the station.
How long have you been, I guess, a bartender for?
I've been a bartender now since I was 19 years old. So we're going on 5 years now. This will be my 5th year working in bars and stuff like that.
Oh, so you've been at it already.
Yeah, I've been at it for quite a while now, yeah. And it's again, it's the same as music. It's a learning game, you know. It's not one of them things that you can finish tomorrow. You can always learn new tricks, new recipes, new ingredients, new ways of blending things. And I'm still new to it all. I've only done the bare minimum, really, you know, making the drinks that I'm asked to make. But it's only in the last year or so that I've really been trying to like experiment with different flavors myself and create my own drinks, things like that, you know. And yeah, going well, enjoying it. But I never let it get too much in the way of my music though, because I don't want to let it come away. I don't want to get myself distracted with the fact that I'm here to do music, you know. Like the bar stuff is fun and it's a lot of fun working in bars and making drinks and things like that, but it's nothing compared to when I'm in the studio, you know, when I'm
Absolutely.
got my
It fun's
guitar
the
in my
dream,
hands.
isn't it?
Absolutely. You'll catch me there making little mini drum kits out of the tins and shakers and bottles and things like that. Or
When there's downtime, you're just
absolutely.
playing
Or even
around.
when the guests are around, even when I'm being cheeky, yeah.
Do you find there's skill sets from that job that you can bring towards your music and just meeting new people, perhaps?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I was never growing up much of a people person. I wouldn't say I struggled, but talking to people and having big conversations that we're doing now wasn't really my strong point, and it took me a while to get to be a people person, I guess you could say. So the bar definitely helps that every day, dealing with new people, meeting new people, and different situations and attitudes you have to handle, things like that. One of the main ones I always say as well is the fact with hand-eye coordination on the guitar is very important. Like I said, you've got your left hand doing one thing, you've got your right hand doing the other. And then on the bar, it's essentially the exact same thing, because I'll have a glass in one hand and something in the other, or I'll be throwing a lime in the air, catching it in this shaker, you know what I mean? It's all about just using your hands and your eyes and keeping everything close and tight, you know?
Is there any other music you're working on?
I'm working on a lot of new music at the moment. This year is going to be a big year for us with a lot of music coming out. I've been writing a lot more freestyles this year, because I know that a lot of the people that like my music, they say that they love it when I do the little freestyle songs, little locations, things like that, and definitely going to be pushing them out a lot more this year. And I just want to network, man. I just want to link up with people, make music, create good vibes. Summers are not too far around the corner now, so I'm going to start getting into our summer bag soon, making a more dancey, summery songs, whatever, you know.
I mean, with your freestyling as well, do you find gems just come out of those moments? Like, are you comfortable in that scenario?
I will hold my hand up and say that I can have moments that I can freestyle quite impressively, and I'm like, wow, did I just do that? But I'm not as good as some of these guys out, you know. And like you said, it is a real talent to be able to create a flow as it's happening, you know. So you're saying things, you're bringing them to light. Whilst you're saying one bar, you've already got the next bar and the next bar and the next bar. That's a real talent. And there's maybe something I'd like to do some more of, you know. Look into it and stuff like that, because as I said, one of my biggest influences is hip hop, and freestyle is a core part of hip hop, you know. So definitely maybe try and give that a practice.
So you're going to play around with different flavors then when it comes to music and
Absolutely.
experiment.
Absolutely, it's important, you know. You always got to keep testing yourself, and you always got to keep switching things up so you can keep your head in the game.
Is there a specific genre? When you say summer, what's that vibe? Like, what are you bringing into your music?
Yeah, so I think for a lot of people, summer you'd identify more of like your dancing kind of song, you know. So I'd say anything from like your Afrobeat or your more upbeat R&B songs, or even Ampiano, which is another sound that I've been like looking into more recently, which is taken over a lot, you know, on things like TikTok and social media. I'm seeing a lot of people vibe into that, so it's just kind of like a melting pot of moving your body type of music, you know what I mean? Anything with rhythm, percussion, got Latin vibes and salsa vibes going on. Me, myself, personally, I'm a big fan of like your Afrobeat sound, your four on the floor kind of, you know, that kind of rhythmic carnival sound. I've got a Latin producer who's from Portugal, but we've got Freemy, who brings a lot of European influence and a lot of that. I call it sun and sea vibes, you know. Like obviously Franco's grown up by the sun and the sea, so but I think everyone should aspire to do their own thing, because at the end of the day, that's why we're here, just to create something, to do something while we're here in the time that we've got. And I love what I'm doing, you know. I love the music I'm putting out. I love the style that I have, and I feel like it's always changing. It's always expanding. It's always getting to new heights, and I thank my team for that, having them around me, showing me which directions I can take it and what new things that we can try that haven't been tried yet, you know.
Why do you think people resonate with your music so much right now? Like, what is it about you and the sound that you're making?
So I guess recently, in the last few months I've been making music, my music has been more struggle-based and more of just like going through things. And I feel like obviously the times that we've been having recently with COVID, and people are ill and people are unfortunately dying, and all these things are happening around us, that I feel like people see my music as either a way out of that, or a way to really take in what's going on around them and to accept that it's okay, you know, because that's a main message in my music, that I do talk about the struggle and I talk about the bad things that I went through, but I always talk about how there is a light at the end of the tunnel, you know, and you can get through what you're going through, and you have to get through it, you know, because there's people around you depending on you. It's just yourself depending on you. Like, the only other option is that you fail, and failure isn't an option, you know. So you have to always just keep going and stay strong. And that's what my music tries to convey anyway. I try my best to do that. So I think that's why people might have been resonating recently. My music is me in my rawest form, you know. I want people to listen to my music and know that they're listening to Jake. So if they think Jake said this and he was feeling like this, that's because Jake really was going through that and he was feeling that, you know. So I think being vulnerable is important. It shows your fans that you're real, you know, and it shows your fans that you're not afraid to hold anything back. They like what I put out, so I need to respect that and honor that by just giving them the sound they want, you know, which is me, just me, raw as it is.
How do you not get lost in that, though, when you're given so many options? How did you know what was meant for you?
I think it's important to stay grounded to what you enjoy and what resonates the most with you, you know, because there's always times when I'm trying things that are maybe suggested that I'm not feeling, or I hear a song that I think I could do something like, and then I try it and it's something like it, you know. I keep myself grounded by remembering what I do and what I do well, you know. So if I can try something and it makes sense and it works with what I'm doing, then perfect, let's give it a go. But if I try something that puts me in a place where I'm thinking I'm changing myself now, or something is not quite clicking how it should, then I don't run with it, you know?
And you talk a lot about mental health as well. Is there something that you've dealt with?
Absolutely. I mean, like I'm lucky in the sense that I've not had no groundbreaking event or issue ever happen to me where something has happened to me in my mental health. But I feel like I've always had struggles, as we all do. You know, I've suffered with anxiety and I've suffered with depressing moments in my life. But it's all just about staying strong, keeping the ones you care about you around you, and staying true to the music that you want to make. You know, and that's what I do. I make sure that anytime I'm feeling something in a certain way, I can either talk about it or I'll make a song about it, you know? Sometimes if I don't feel like I want to talk about something, making the song is my way of talking about it, you know?
Is there one song that you always constantly go back to, or is it just depending on like what you're feeling?
Depends on what I'm feeling, but I'm lucky that I've got my favourite songs are the ones that we release, you know? And the ones that I have currently out, which is good, so I can always go back to those. But I think if I had to pick one, it would probably be like one of my old Afro songs from back in the day where I used to just have like silly fun on a track. I'd probably go to the booth after too many drinks with Franco and we'd just talk a load of rubbish on the song, and you know what I mean, and just do our thing. But yeah, they're always fun little memories. Music for me has just always been that thing, you know? It's something about just taking vibrations and just taking bits of metal strings on a piece of wood, you know, and be able to create something that can convey so much feeling and emotion, and it's just one of the most fun things in the world. And I think writing especially, it's something that I'm falling in love with more every day that I'm doing it, and every week and month that goes past, and the more I'm exploring what I can write about and what I can write for and to you know, like, it helps a lot.
And what gets you in the zone the most? Like, is it being in the studio or being on a bus somewhere?
I try to zone wherever I can, you know? I mean, there's always different vibes around us, and there's always different places we can get different inspirations from, but studio is definitely the place where I could say I feel most at home to find the vibe, you know? If I've got my friends around me, or I've got Franco around me, a couple drinks, you know what I mean? Something like that, have some good food, and just enjoy ourselves, man. I think the best vibes come when I'm just at peace with myself and at peace with life, you know, which sometimes isn't all the time, but when you do get to that place, it's good, and that's where I make like my best music.
How was your experience on stage for the first time? Because that must have been wild.
It was crazy. Yeah. Shout out to Nath for bringing me out on his tour. Yeah, we had an amazing time. It was a big learning curve. Got to learn a lot of things about me and how things work when they're done live. You know, it's different. It's not the same, but it was fun. I had a lot of fun, and it was a real blessed opportunity that I got, man.
What did you learn about yourself? What was
just how to handle like tiredness and things like that, and energy, stress, things like that. You know, like being on stage is a stressful thing. It can get tired mentally, but it's just keeping myself well balanced, keeping myself in a good place. And Nathan and his team were nothing but supportive the whole time, and everything was sounding super clean and super crisp. And yeah, it was a great show. Can't wait to do more.
What does it take to prepare for that kind of performance?
Just a lot of practice, man. Just a lot of rehearsals, making sure the voice is good. I didn't want to overdo it because obviously if you rehearse too much and you have an idea of how it has to sound perfect, and then if you get out there, you'll get nervous if it doesn't sound the way you want it to. So you don't want to overdo it, but definitely I practiced as much as I could within reason. Drank a lot of water, listening to the songs over and over again so that you know every single lyric, because that's another thing. Sometimes when you're on stage and the lights are on and the crowd are screaming, sometimes the lyrics can just go. So
has that happened?
Not on stage, touch wood, thankfully. No, that didn't happen on stage, and I got all my lyrics down, but in the future, who knows? Hopefully that won't happen.
And how far do you want to take your music right now? Like, where can you vision yourself?
I vision myself at a point where I'm always chasing, you know? Like, I know that we can go to crazy heights, and we're going to go to crazy places. I feel like we can change a lot of things in the game, and we can really create some just timeless music, but I don't ever see myself getting to a point that I'm done, you know? Like, it's a journey, and I'm on this journey for the rest of my life, ideally. Like, always just making new music, learning new things, inspiring new people.
So you don't ever want to settle?
No, I'd never settle. Can't settle. There may be a point where I can settle, like, in a lifestyle sense of things. Like, I can have a more chilled life where I'm not always in the studio as much, or where I can take more of a director's seat, more of a backseat kind of thing. But I'm always going to be on this journey of music because it's just something that is so inspiring and so ever changing, you know? Like, the world we live in is always changing, the people around us are always changing, so music will obviously do the same and it will follow that, you know.
What's your definition of wealth? Or wealth and just how do I say this? Because we all have that. It's either a number or a certain just lifestyle. Like,
For sure.
What is that for you?
I don't base wealth on materialistic things, 100%. I want my wealth to be in life, you know. And I think Bob Marley said it best, you know, not in the type of riches that I want are in life and in happiness and having good people around you. Like, if I was living in a house that had 1 bedroom, but in that 1 bedroom I've got 5 of my best friends and we're all happy and we're all at peace with what we're doing in our lives, that to me is better than a mansion with 27 rooms and you're just sat there not knowing what you're feeling, you know. Like, I've always said that I want nice things for my friends, I want nice things for my mum and for my dad and things, but for myself I just want happiness, you know, just peace of life and peace for people around me, because everyone's always been so stressed, you know, and we've all been through stuff where we're just sat there at the end of the day going, what am I going to do about this situation? And just to remove that from the people I care about and just to let them really just reach their full potential. It's like, yeah, that's the dream, man. That's the dream.
So lifting everyone around you.
100%, absolutely. I don't want to be the one that uplifts them. I want to be the one that shows them how to uplift themselves, you know, to put them in a position where they can really realize, wow, like I'm in a position now where, because I don't have to focus on this or this or this, I've got all this free time now that I can just do whatever I want to do. And like I said, reach the highest potential possible.
Do you ever want to mentor in the future too?
Definitely. Yeah. Once I've learned more of myself and more of what I'm doing, because I feel like to be a mentor, you have to have been there, you've done it, you've walked the walk and got it wrong, you know? Like, it's all well and good having a mentor that says, yeah, I've done everything right and I've been successful, but you need a mentor that has failed and has dealt with failure and has been through stresses and been through hard times. And I feel like I'm definitely going through that myself, you know? I'm gaining my stripes, I'm having good moments, I'm having bad moments. So when I get to around, who knows, 40, 50 years old, and I want to look back and I want to go, do you know what? Yeah, I want to take someone with the hunger I had when I was 18, 19, whatever, and help them reach their dreams. 100%, I can definitely see myself doing that.
So we're approaching our tattoo, almost done here.
It is looking super amazing, and I'm super, super happy with it.
I wanted to ask you the final question, and that's just, aside from the obvious, which is money, fame, recognition, and all that, what pushes you and makes you wake up every day just to do what you're doing?
That is a great question to end on. And I think at the end of the day, I would have to say it's just to try and make the world a bit better, you know, because even though we're all here for a very short amount of time in the grand scheme of things and we're all just our own little person in our own little bubble, I just want to make an impact, you know. I want my music to help, whether it's one person, 10 people or 10 billion people. I just want my music to have an impact. I want it to do something while it's here, during the time that it is here, you know. And I guess that's it really, always just trying every day, waking up thinking, what can I make today that could be the thing that changes my life?
Well, I appreciate you being a part of this, and now we have some memories.
100%.
Forever,
Thank you so much for your work.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely incredible. It's very sore. Damn.
Some serious work though. For real. This is not the first or the last. No, this is the next.
A lot more realism now.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's a good contrast. You get some.
I was in pain, living on dreams and hopes. Everyone knows, different game. Now I need a million shows, brilliant flows, different name. Hitting them goals I know, setting goals, rallying aim. I just come through and throw, staying on toes, no mission game. Sweet one told me to get, think to myself now, can I